Welcome to the Herondale Boy Support Group. I'm Melanie,
I'm Ginny.
And I'm Allie,
and we're here to help.
supposedly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I don't know how helpful we are. We try our best, but
I mean, there's help in commiseration.
yes, that's really what this is about. And that's what a support group is, right? You go and
It
you
is.
commiserate together
Mm-hmm.
about stuff, and like through that, sometimes you find healing.
We are a very, very appropriately named podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So how you guys been? Not like I don't talk to you every day, as we just were discussing.
Yeah, we're at a point where we're all talking basically daily, which is it's fun. It's really fun
It's fun.
to be
I
able
have
to chat
friends.
about books
Yes.
and like other things that are going on in life too, and all this stuff
Like
all the
the
time.
Jonas Brothers concert.
I was gonna say-
OMG. Did you hear?
OMG,
I'm
did you
dating a
hear?
Jonas Brother. It's so
You're not.
hot.
It's so hot.
I'm really not dating
Yeah.
a Jonas Brother.
Are you a video girl?
A little bit. I like that one. I like that one a lot.
That one's a fun song. I like that song too.
Yeah.
I wish we got a little bit more of it. I think it was cool how they did like all the mashups. I did enjoy that.
Yeah.
I did like that. I don't think the transitions were always smooth. There were definitely
there were
some that I
definitely
was
one or
like,
two
this is
weird
very
ones.
awkward.
Ooh, wait, I do have to.
But,
Stupid. I'm sorry. There's a gnat. So if you see me waving my hands around, it's because there's a bug and I'm trying to get rid of it.
Yes. Rude.
Did they do any Camp Rock songs?
Yes.
Yes, they did.
I'm bitter.
Everyone.
I got
is.
no Camp Rock at my concert.
Yeah, apparently we got a good show. So there's that. We got 2 Camp Rock songs actually.
Did.
Was it Play My Music and Gotta Find You?
No, it was not.
It was
What
not.
was it?
It was Gotta Find You and Introducing Me.
You got introducing me.
Yes.
We did.
So I think that when
Yeah.
they were in one of the audience interactions they were talking to somebody, I think that's what she said was her favorite song, because she was like, "You're not going to play it, but my favorite song is this." We couldn't quite make it out, but I think it may have been Introducing Me.
Yeah.
But it was funny because they were like, "Oh, the guitars, they're not tuned." But then
That's
yeah,
true.
they came out and it was just the 3 of them, and then guitars, and then yeah,
I-
Introducing Me was just
I'm
Nick on
mad.
piano.
I am mad.
That was a good show. I
Because
was
I like cheese, but only on pizza. And that's why I fell in love with the pizza girl.
Speaking of Pizza Girl, got these bracelets. I got
We
a
did
Pizza
make
Girl
bracelets to
bracelet
trade.
that Allie made me.
Send me a bracelet. I
Yeah.
want a bracelet. Can I have a bracelet?
Of course, you
Of
can have a
course.
bracelet.
We'll mail you a
I
bracelet.
have Waffle House left.
Would
that
you
I
like
never
Waffle
gave to
House?
anybody. Would you like
Yes,
Waffle House?
I would love Waffle House. I love
You're
having
getting
deep
Waffle
conversations
House.
at the Waffle House.
Okay, you can have Waffle
I like that
House.
song. It's catchy, but that one, yeah, we thought that would be more popular.
We made 2
'cause
of
we did
those.
make all these bracelets to trade. Yeah,
And yeah, for some reason those didn't go. Red Dress was also one I was holding on to till the very end that I was expecting to get rid of. And I was like, why?
Do you still have red dress?
No.
no,
We
Okay,
talked
I
to
was
somebody
gonna say,
literally right
yeah.
after the concert. And we
I was going to
traded
say,
it
if you have red dress, that's the one I want.
But my Waffle House, I
Aw.
literally looked behind us. I saw somebody wearing a Waffle House shirt. And I was like, would you like a bracelet to match your shirt?
That's true.
Because we had made
Yeah,
several.
we did
So
the
like,
trading bracelets thing, and we were better about it this time because we also went to the Eras tour,
Mhm.
like a couple months ago, and then we went so overboard on the bracelet thing. We had like
so many.
somewhere
It was
between
like
40 and
48.
50 bracelets.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
it was
And like, we went
crazy.
hard on these bracelets here. I will show you what my
We
bracelet
did.
looks like for
they're
those of you on the thing.
They're
They're,
really
like-
handcrafted ones.
They are.
Um,
This one says
I
pom-poms.
can't see.
yeah, Allie's gonna show
Oh,
you.
I was going to say, it's hard for me to see it from our screen, but
But yeah, I'll show you after. But it's like
You have to
threaded.
make
It's like a
pom-poms
friendship
wide a little
bracelet
bit.
tied,
Yeah.
and it has beads, and it's adjustable. Like, we went hard on these friendship bracelets. man.
pom-poms is like almost a deep cut.
It
It is
is.
almost a
It
deep cut.
is. That
I wanted
that bracelet ended
pom-poms
up
to
being
be
a,
huge.
a really good one.
They're not. No, I love you. I love them. They're never going to play pom-poms. They are never going to play pom-poms.
I know, and I'm sad. I'm bitter. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the bracelets. So we made so many
Right.
for the Eras tour.
Yeah, but then there's a lot of factors that went into it, but like by the end of the Eras tour, we still had like 40 bracelets, and we
Yeah.
only traded like
That's a lot.
3 times. Yeah,
Mhm.
like 3 times, and we went into this hoping that we would like give them all away or trade so many. And we learned from that. We learned that we have to be
Mhm.
extroverted about it,
Which is hard
and
for
stop
us.
people and be like, yeah. And it's hard for us. We're bookworms. We're quiet bookworms. So we're like, we just want to stay in here in our little corners and
perceive
not talk to
me.
people and don't look at us. And yeah, So going to a
Mm.
concert and being like, "Hi, I see your bracelets. Do you want to trade?" is like not a thing that either one of us naturally
Mm-hmm.
do, but
I had to
we
put on
we
my
made ourselves
fluffy,
do it this time.
non-threatening, tell me your life story face, and be like, "Hi,
Yeah,
I see
Allie
that you
has a
too have lots
non-threatening
of bracelets."
face.
I do,
yeah,
actually.
it's fun.
It's a phenomenon.
Yeah.
That I don't believe. I'll believe it when I see it. How about that?
So I'm cursed with this thing called "Tell me your life story" face, where if I walk into a public situation and there's anyone who needs to make any sort of conversation with me at all, they're going to make it a full conversation. You know, like Ginny has been
Yes,
born witness to this.
I
Yeah,
do
I
know what
don't
you
know.
mean because I
I'm
have
not
that
sure
kind
how
of
to.
voice.
Okay,
Having
your
worked in
voice I
retail,
can see it, but yeah,
Yeah.
the retail it's a similar vibe as like the retail voice. It's
I
like,
would,
yeah,
yeah, I would get it on the phone a lot when I would answer the phone.
Exactly.
They'd just be like,
yeah,
they'd be telling their,
yeah.
and I'd be like, ma'am, sir, whoever, please wrap it up.
It's the same phenomenon.
It's the same, yeah, it's the same kind of thing exactly. But yeah, Allie has this like presence and like face. But maybe it might be different now with the shaved head. I don't know, but
I'm hoping the shaved head makes me slightly more threatening.
yeah, it might. But yeah, it's a thing, and I've witnessed it, and I'm like, interesting.
Like,
Yeah,
we went to go get smoothies one
Wait.
time, and then it devolved in, like, this whole conversation about, like, the day that the smoothie person was having, and we're like, okay, this is fine. This is the thing that's happening.
Yeah.
I mean,
We
okay.
go to like the parks, like the Disney parks sometimes, or like springs, and people always stop and ask for directions or ask about this and that, or
We were asked for
recommendations, this and that,
directions
and
by a native English person in England.
yeah, we were. And I was just like,
Somebody
you
who
know,
lived
my
in the
reaction
country.
when people try to stop us,
Foreigners.
yeah,
You guys don't need to remind me that you live close to Disney parks. You went to England recently. I'm like, I hate you for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was
All
the
this
thing. Yeah,
circling back to, we were much better with the
Right.
bracelets this time.
we were much better with the bracelets. Much better. I have one of
Much
those bracelets. I don't have it on, but
Much better. Doo-doo.
Exactly.
If there are any Jonas Brothers fan listening, you are also a
Yes,
part of the
You're
support
among
group.
friends.
absolutely.
Even if you don't know it, you are a part of the support group.
That's the thing is like, you know, we're in our between 20 and 30 ages here, and like the nostalgia, it's just, yeah. The
It's peak.
nostalgia of Jonas Brothers,
I was like, what
It has
year
been
is
taken
it?
off
Singing
the-
SOS for the whole stadium.
What?
yeah,
Listen, it's been
Mortal
taken
Instruments
off
and
the
Shadowhunters,
shelf.
Ah.
exactly.
So,
So yeah, nostalgic weekend, and yeah, it's crazy because like all these things are from our like teen childhood, you know, like that
07,
age.
that first album dropped.
oh God,
Yeah, that was the same
Yeah.
We're
sound I
old.
made.
we're old, guys. We're old.
I was like, ugh.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, that makes sense.
we
doesn't
are.
it?
As the youngest one here, we're old.
You shush. Do you have back pain yet?
Yes, actually, from
Oh, no.
standing on my feet in retail every day.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it sneaks
So-
up on you.
It does
And
sneak
it's
up on
like-
you.
It's and a lot younger than I expected, like things to sneak up on. Yeah, I'm like, what?
We're
Why
doing
didn't nobody
great.
tell us? Why didn't nobody tell us that we would
Oh.
My
have
hair's
back pain
thinning. Ginny's going
Yeah.
gray.
Uh-huh.
I'm glad you guys had a good time because I know that it's been a weird couple of weeks regarding the Jonas Brothers, and I'm glad that you guys had a good time.
So we saw shirts.
That's
We're
true.
not going to say anything more than this because I know that we will get into a hot debate about it. But I will say I saw 3 people wearing shirts, and one of them said, "I love Nick," another said, "I love Kevin," and another said, "I love Sophie." And I laughed. Just saying. I laughed.
It was
That
funny.
I don't
It was
find funny. I don't. We are
We are not
so
going to get
Allie-
into it here, but
I will just say that Allie and I, mostly Allie and I, Ginny's kind of just like,
oh no, Ginny has hard
witness.
opinions on this. I don't know why you don't remember.
I have opinions.
She has opinions,
Yeah,
but
and
she's
I don't
not.
know why you have no
Listen,
memory of this.
she's not as vocal about it as I am with Allie. Is more what I'm saying.
Bullshit.
Fine.
Did you not? Yeah, you don't remember the block of text that I
I'm
dropped
gonna
in the
leave
group
because
chat.
I'm gonna leave, and you guys can do this back yourself. It's gonna be YA-ish again. I can leave. Bye.
All right,
Not
why
saying
is
anything but
Redux?
that.
Welcome to Young Adultish, your digital book club.
Not again. Yeah, it's fine. We have fond memories there too, but yeah.
Anyway,
Um,
you also had a fun weekend though.
we were talking about
Melanie
Yeah.
did stuff while we were at the Jonas Brothers concert.
Mhm.
It was just like a day of nostalgia because Melanie was also doing
It
fun
was a
things.
nostalgia day.
I went to my first ever con, which just so happened to be New York Comic Con.
That's a big one to go to for your first
That
con.
is massive.
Yeah, but it's my local one, so what do you want me to do?
That's fair. I guess MegaCon was my first con, which is also like pretty sizable for a first con.
Same.
But it was fun. I mean, yeah, like we went yesterday, and all the big stuff happens on like Saturdays. So there wasn't like any major panels that we wanted to go to. So
Well, there
my
was
friend
one
and
major panel that you wanted to
well,
go to.
I'll get to that. I will
Okay.
get to that.
Spoilers. I'm sorry. I'll shut up.
Listen, I let you go on about your Jonas Brothers. Let me talk about my New York Comic Con.
Okay.
So yeah, we mostly just walked around the show floor, and then we went to Artist Alley, and I do have stuff that I bought sitting here next to me that I can show off.
Always.
So first, I bought this beautiful print for Anastasia. You can take it out of the plastic if it's too.
That's so cool.
Take it out of the plastic.
That's pretty.
I don't see a lot of Anastasia like representation in artwork and stuff. And so you guys, if you don't know, Allie and Ginny do know, but if you listening don't, Anastasia is like my childhood comfort movie. I grew up on it. We don't talk about the real history because that,
It's a thing. Yeah. What can you do?
I bought books because
That makes sense.
And I got home and my mom was like, "When are you going to read all these books that you've bought?" And I'm like, "Essentially."
You don't know me, Mom.
If you don't die with a lengthy to be read list, were you even a reader in life? Let's be real.
So, sort of tangenting, but not really, back to a conversation we had on Allie and Ginny's gaming channel of what 5 things women need to summon you. This is 2 of those 5 things combined.
Oh.
Disney books.
Nice.
Disney YA books. It's
nice.
called the Queen's Council series, and it's the Disney princesses, but like now as queens of their realms or cities or whatever.
Ooh.
That's fun.
Or I guess
I like it.
Depending on the character, she may not be a queen, but So this is the Jasmine one. This is Belle.
Okay.
Rebel Rose. You have called Rebel Wonders. And then Mulan, who's not really going to be a queen, but hers is Feather and Flame. And then,
nice.
While I could have gotten these locally, why I got them at Comic-Con was because, so you see the cover here, right? Check that out.
Okay, that's pretty badass.
Wow. Okay.
The Belle one has a unique cover too. Jasmine did not, but that's okay. I was like, well, I'm gonna buy all 3, and I got a free tote with a purchase, so
can't beat
this
that.
is the Belle one.
Nice.
Free stuff. Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So those of you who can't see, she's removing the dust jacket, and they all have like fancy covers underneath the dust jacket, which is pretty cool.
I can maybe feature them on our Instagram. Yeah. I also got this Twisted Tale free tote. It's got that on one side, all the books on the other.
Nice.
I really want to read the Hercules one. But I haven't.
And
then
then
yet.
finally,
I have
my
the
last
Peter Pan one my parents gave me. But
I bought the Rapunzel one because and it's also Moonflower.
Right.
It's Moonstone Moonflower, as Ginny knows how important that is.
Yes. Exciting.
And then finally, I don't know if either of you guys know the show Winx Club, the cartoon.
I'm familiar vaguely.
I've
it was
heard of
a little,
but I didn't.
Little after my time.
A hoodie.
Yeah. Oh, that's cute.
Me.
Oh
wow, that's really
you
cute.
guys can see, it's all the main girl.
It's kind of like a manga
sort of like a
looking,
manga style sort of artwork.
Nice.
And I also got a free tattoo with it that says "Proud Fan" since 2004, which is when it first came out. And I didn't know there was going to be a Winx Club booth, so I saw it and I immediately said to my friend, I was like, "Wait, is that a Winx Club booth?" And I was like, "We have to beeline over."
The representation at cons is chef's kiss of just like
oh my God.
all of the things.
For Winx Club specifically, when I don't,
I haven't seen anything I don't think ever for Winx Club, so that's cool.
So that's what I bought.
The other thing is, like, as someone who's not super familiar, I might have seen it in passing, but yeah, a booth.
Just not noticing.
That is something cool. That is a show I will add to our House of News watch party list. And then, last but not least, which is actually relevant to our podcast, is I met Cassandra Clare.
What?
Uh-huh.
So surprised, even though we saw the pictures during our Jonas Brothers concert last night. That's fine.
It's fine. Everything's fine. You didn't hear all about it. So
we didn't hear anything about it.
There was a panel that she was doing in promotion of her new book, Swordcatcher, which is her first adult fantasy book.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really, excuse me, interesting to hear about like her thought process behind it and why she sort of made it an adult fantasy book. And she said she wasn't planning on originally making it an adult fantasy book. And we can sort of get Morgan into this if we eventually read Swordcatcher for the podcast. But she kind of, as she was, writing the story and thinking of these characters, she kind of realized there's no way that they could grab these life experiences and still be teenagers. So it just kind of transformed into an adult fantasy book.
Well, that's cool.
All right.
Yeah, and so she talked a lot about like her influences for the book and stuff like that, which I'll try and save for if we ever read Swordcatcher. And then there was a photo op at the end, and I got to take a photo with her.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll put that on Instagram.
Everyone who was, I will post it later. I wanted to wait until after the podcast, to surprise our listeners.
Surprise! Yeah.
Everyone, they had made jokes during the panel from everybody asking questions and talking about, readers growing up with the books and all that. And she was just like, everybody stop telling me you started reading it in middle school. That makes me feel so old. As like a joke, right? Yeah. So I said to her when I went up to take the photo, and I was like, if it makes you feel any better, I started reading your books because of the show, the Shadowhunters TV show. She goes, you know what? Yeah. That does, because at least it was more recent.
Oh no.
It's true.
So that's my experience. I got to take a photo with Cassie Clare.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's awesome that you got to take a photo and like say hello and yeah.
Really
it was very quick because, it's a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
And it was closer to 9 o'clock at night. So
Ginny is intimately familiar with the con scene. So
I did meet some other friends there. Bridget and Jonathan, if they happen to be watching to this, hello. Thank you for, yesterday and chatting with me and meeting me.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my day.
Super fun.
Fun. Yeah. Man, the con scene is so fun. It's a unique experience and it's definitely enjoyable. And just like the merch, like the artist alley always.
The merch game slays.
So much money all the time. And yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about how much money I spent yesterday.
Shh, it's a secret.
That's fair. Like, okay, I'll be honest, like now that I've been to several cons, I don't normally have a problem. But the first few cons I went to, I was spending so much money. And years later, there's a couple things I'm like, I probably shouldn't have bought this. This was definitely an impulse buy. But at the time, it's just exciting.
I feel like
I need something that represents every single fandom I've ever been into ever. Like,
okay, but there's also the phenomenon where you see a super obscure fandom that you haven't thought about in years. Like Shigokara is one that like when we've been like, and then I had the experience recently with like Hamtaro, and I was like.
See, it wasn't like obscure fandoms for me, like that I haven't thought about in years, because I think about Anastasia literally all the time, and then Winx Club is something that I still think fondly of. Sometimes I'll go back and rewatch it, but it's just I didn't expect like the representation for them.
Yeah. And
then I forgot to grab it, but I also bought my first ever physical dice set.
Nice.
We're
big D&D nerds. In case
I'll send you guys a picture later.
You need to send us pictures. Yes.
I will. I'm sorry. Yeah. I forgot to. I was like, I'll show you guys tomorrow, and I forgot to grab it out of my bag.
So much excitement. That's fair.
I can't tell if I was more excited about Cassie Clare or dice. I was like, ooh, dice.
It should be Cassie Clare, but
Listen, you don't know how I feel about dice. We're not going to talk about how much money I recently spent on dice.
I feel that your dice rolls are always unfair, so that's how I feel.
Ginny's been testing them regularly because they're sitting on the table because we used them in our recent book photo shoot. So Ginny has been rolling to see which ones are shitty and which ones need to be.
So whichever ones are shitty are the ones you need to be using for our sessions.
The one that are being currently used are still they're fine. Yeah.
For
now.
Set.
Let's hope that I have a good set.
The fire set, yeah.
Did you roll them before you bought them?
No, they're in a package.
That's true. You gotta test them out.
You have to test them out. No, that's lame.
Test them out.
I didn't know that. No one told me this. The vendor guy didn't tell me that.
Poser.
Rude.
But circling back to what we're here to talk about.
Now you're making me feel like I made a bad decision.
No, you made a great decision. You'll have to roll them after this podcast.
Just roll the d20 and see.
I will specifically take a video of me rolling them and send it to you.
Thank you.
There you go.
Anyway, that long tangent over, because it was a very busy weekend.
Yeah, we were up to stuff yesterday.
Oh yeah, it was a great time. It's a great time to be alive sometimes, like for all this. Yeah, exactly.
Not
for
Jonas Brothers or
the bad stuff and dumb stuff going on in the world. Once in a while, there are these little pockets of really awesome that just makes some of the struggle worth that.
Yeah.
And it's fun when we get to explore the nostalgia and explore things that make us happy. And that's my thing too, as an adult, right? Like, was it recently my mother judged me for bringing this stuffed dinosaur back to my house, and she's like, "Ha ha ha, it's so funny." I'm like, "Look, mom, it makes me happy. Leave me alone." Like, like if this stuff makes us happy now,
Let
that's
me
all that
live with
matters.
my singular molecule of serotonin in peace.
Yep. Yep. She's like, "Ha ha ha, you're an adult." I'm like, "Yeah, I am, and I like this dinosaur." And
But did she
I
see the
am happy.
slime that you brought too?
No, or actually, no. I was playing with the slime, so she could have seen it, but she didn't comment on it. Or, yeah, she didn't comment on my slime. She commented on the stuffed dinosaur.
Rude. You see, I think that we as millennials have reclaimed what it means to be an adult, and that we still get to like our
Yeah,
hobbies.
I agree, and I think I love that for us. Yeah,
I do too.
absolutely. Yeah, we
I don't
love our
know.
nostalgia. We love our hobbies. We love the things that we love, and we are not sorry about that.
And I love that for us.
Yeah, I love that for Charlotte and her hats too.
I do love that for Charlotte and her hats.
Oh man. What is it? I think Allie has a summary, right?
I have the summary. So
Are
spoiler
we ready
warning.
to? Yeah.
We are discussing chapters 7 through 12 of Clockwork Princess. So if you care about spoilers and you haven't read these books, first of all, get on it. Yeah, do that. And then come back. Or if you're not the person who cares about spoilers and you're just here for vibes, then hey, what's up? Let's go.
Just here to support
We've got
us.
vibes.
We're here for vibes too.
You're also here
Obviously.
for vibes.
Woo.
So that is your warning, chapters 7 through 12. And of course, anything before that in the series is fair game as well. This week, a crisis at the Institute. G. Lightwood Squared is fulfilling their end of the bargain and notifying the council of the biggest tragedy one can imagine. Charlotte has accumulated too many hats and spends too much money on dainty feminine fashion.
Square.
Surely, this is not what the council's looking for, but it's all according to plan. Meanwhile, Cecily is facing her own internal crisis. Her plan to get Will home is failing abysmally, as the longer she stays at the Institute, the more shadow hunting sinks through her blood. She's not the only one to notice, as Gabriel appears in the training room, telling her how much the same. As he's doing so, Cecily can't help but notice him. His touch, his breath, his heat. Steamy shit. On cue, Will appears, fresh from his lamenting the disappearance of Yin-Fen from the city, and is ready to tell off Lightworm. Perhaps an even more unfortunate nickname given the recent events. After Gabriel is dismissed, Will reveals that he too has noticed the change in his little sister. The Institute crew is summoned to the drawing room at Charlotte's behest, and Cecily is noticing. Noticing Will's love for Tessa, Tessa's love for Will, and yeah, Jem's there too, I guess. The meeting concerns a disturbing letter from the Magister. He has all of the Yin-Fen that will preserve Jem's life, and he will happily hand it over, in exchange for Tessa. Debate ensues, quickly followed by chaos as Jem throws the Magister's offering, including the small sample of Yin-Fen he had sent, into the roaring fire. Will reaches in to save it, burning his bare hands. Seeing the consequences of his actions, Jem apologizes as he traces healing runes into his bond brother's skin. Cecily and Charlotte also stay to comfort Will, but Tessa hands the saved Yin-Fen to Jem and makes her departure. Later that night, Tessa's reflecting on her quarrel with Jem when she receives a note summoning her to the music room. There, the affianced couple speak. Apologies are shared, love is confessed, a song is shared, marriage is moved forward, and Tessa laments on her lost opportunity with Will. Church interrupts a rather steamy moment of intimacy, and the very soon-to-be-married couple retire for the evening. The following morning, Jem abruptly makes the announcement, without even waiting for his beloved parabatai to make an appearance. The reception is mixed, with most of the Institute apprehensive at best of this change. Jessamine's arrival breaks up the fight, but a more literal one is quick to ensue. Will and Tessa are having a conversation about their feelings, gross, when Charlotte pushes them to hurry up. Everyone goes to greet Jessie when clockwork automatons once again descend on the Institute. Fighting breaks out, Tessa is kidnapped, and Jessamine is slain. Jem tears off after the carriage that stole Tessa, but is too weak and too slow to catch up. He returns to the Institute and collapses. As the Institute is hovering anxiously around Jem, Cecily calls Will to her side. She'd overheard Jesse's dying words to him. Mortmain is in Idris. Will's a terrible Welshman. Obviously, he's hiding out in the mountains. Kader Idris. They take this information to Charlotte, and together they present it to the council, who sucks, and predictably is reluctant to investigate. Following the meeting, the council seeks out Gabriel, who is traumatized and contemplating his recent patricide. The council confronts him about the letters and offers a new deal, to just Gabriel this time, one he appears to accept. Will has all but made up his mind. He's going to go after Tessa alone, but guilt still claws at him. Jem may well die. Could he forgive himself for not being at his side when it happens? Magnus appears to help him with the dilemma, encouraging him to do as he needs and promising to keep vigil in Will's absence. Magnus grants them privacy to say goodbye, and Jem wakes. He is not dead yet, and he has some questions about Will's love of Tessa. The two have a lot to discuss. Will confesses everything about his love for Tessa, and, well, maybe excluding all of the making out, and Jem asks the age-old question, but does she love you? Will says she does not, which the past 2.5 books have proven to be a lie, but I digress. Ultimately, Jem is glad that Will loves Tessa. It makes it much easier for Jem to ask him to go after her, which Will definitely would have done regardless. Will wakes Balios and prepares to ride, and eventually does so, after arguing about Cecily and making a promise he certainly doesn't intend to keep. At the Institute, Charlotte is the only one surprised by Will's departure, but it is ultimately decided that no one will follow. Instead, the Institute will focus its attentions on Jem. Tessa awakes in the carriage, across from Mrs. Black, in her horrific and grotesque form, learning no real helpful information. Mrs. Black taunts that no one will save her, so Tessa throws herself from the carriage. Meanwhile, Cecily and Gabriel, or Gideon, Magnus can't seem to tell the difference, go on a shopping trip on Magnus's behalf. They pick up the ingredients for potions and components for spells, but leave Eggs Benedict's order of demon pornography on the counter. They depart, but not before Gabriel throws the Fae through the window. Meanwhile, Magnus and Henry, a fantastic pair if I've ever seen one, review Henry's work. Magnus is genuinely appreciative in a way that Henry deserves, damn it! And the pair work to create a means of teleportation, a portal. We close these chapters with the satyr from the shop, whose name is apparently not Sallows, as we previously were told, being threatened by a mysterious hooded figure. And that's where our discussion will begin.
Is it?
Whoa.
Lots of stuff.
Lots of stuff. Always lots of stuff.
So much.
Yeah, so much. Yeah, we're like, mid-book now, and it's the mid-book of the last in the series, so it's like all the stuff. That's the thing about trilogies, right? If you have that second book and nothing happens in that second book, all of it has to happen in your third book.
Everything has to come to a close if it's the last book.
Yeah, so while there was like not much plot in Clockwork Prince, there is all the plot now in Clockwork Princess.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have found the plot.
Have we?
We have.
We have.
Lots of stuff.
Lots of stuff.
Lots of much needed conversations.
Oof.
Long overdue conversations.
Where
do we begin?
Yeah, I don't know. Somebody could pick a place to begin, and we'll just have to.
So I guess
find something.
I'll start with where I literally got up, put my book down, got up, grabbed my notebook and a pen, and immediately started writing paragraphs.
Oh my. I'm concerned.
Which was the fire scene. Like, I'll admit, as evidenced by my summary, I'm having a good time with this podcast. Many of my bullet points that I bring up, occasionally I'm like, I have a gold nugget of like actual character discussion, but most of the time I enjoy Allie's verbal shitposting corner, is what we like to call it, where I just write down shenanigans. But I was like, fuck nah.
Allie's got something to say.
Had emotions.
Yeah.
So
go for it.
I start the fire scene. We spend books, underlined, watching Will learn how his actions affect and hurt others, but in this moment, Jem is learning the same lesson harshly and all at once. Which I thought was an interesting role reversal. And Jem's finally getting a glimpse of what it's like to be Will. watching his carelessness hurt those he loves the most, and Will learning how it burns to be hurt by the one you love most.
Was there more, or was that it?
That is the beginning. There are smaller notes, but that is the big assertion that I have made.
Didn't think about that, but you are correct.
I didn't either, but yeah, I'm glad that you brought it up because, yeah, it was a powerful moment. Yeah.
I just wrote that both boys are stupid.
Well,
I mean that's not wrong.
That is not wrong. That is the end all be all of the situation.
I literally just was
suppose.
like, my thought was that both boys are so stupid. Do I understand why Jem just wanted to take the drug? Yes. Do I understand why Will would try to salvage it from the fire? Yes. But both are stupid decisions.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a fair assertion.
And Jem says he did it because he was thinking of Tessa, and I'm like, well, if you were thinking of Tessa, you would have taken the drug because that's what she wanted you to do. And yes, Mortmain wants her, and like that's, taking the infant is, what Mortmain wants so that he can have Tessa. But also, like, do you really think that if she tried to surrender herself, like, you would let her? You would you wouldn't try to stop her?
Exactly. It's kind of, it's this very tropey, like, knight complex. You have to throw, it's like, well, they want the one you love. It's like, well, I can't let that happen. I have to protect them. Like, yeah,
I also
established.
I also said, Tessa, don't murder yourself. You're not that special.
Oof.
I mean, she does make a fair point though, that because, well, she has this moment where she's like, if they, like, because they're like, absolutely not, you can't go. But then, like, she's like, Will, if they said, I want Will instead, like, Will would just 100% just up and go, and no one would stop it. Like, and I was like, I mean,
yes,
that's
they would all
fair.
make the same decision, but they would also all try to stop each other.
Oh, they would, yeah. That's, the dichotomy of, yeah.
Teenagers in London in this time period are no smarter than they are today.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, teenagers be doing dumb things.
Teenagers, yeah. What's it?
Yeah.
Okay. My note on the fire scene basically was just like that was that, and it's just like definitely like Will's, like, I could sense Will's desperation of like you reach into the fire. And I was just like, desperate moments. Hashtag Heronstairs.
Exactly. My follow-up note is Tessa is there, lol. Because
I will never be a Heronstairs.
And that's your loss, because this is the best ship in this damn book.
I see it.
It is not. It is a wonderful friendship, and it is nothing more.
Nah, they banged.
Definitely did not.
They definitely did. Just saying.
Did not. And you will not convince anyone otherwise.
Just a little smooch. Just a little.
No.
Just a little one.
No, Allie. Not everything is gay.
But it can be.
But it
Have
isn't.
you considered? What if it was?
But it isn't.
And frankly, that's a damn shame.
Moving on.
But I did think that, like, yeah, this is why people ship Heronstairs, right? It's because, like,
yeah, because of the amount of passion and just, unfiltered care for somebody else, and so yeah.
Absolutely, because this is a very, like, yeah, my Tessa is their lol comment obviously is like teehee, but also this is a very intense moment between Will and Jem specifically. And this relationship is raw and in front of everybody at this point now, with the way that Will literally shoves his hands into the burning flame without a second of hesitation to save the thing that he thinks will preserve his friends, someone he loves, life. And that's powerful.
It's really hard because we've been talking about this. I feel that we see both sides of it, of Will wanting to do whatever he can to protect Jem and basically lengthen out, I guess, his life, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if that's the way to say it, as much as he can. But Jem being like, Will, you have to accept that I don't have much time left, and you can't do anything to change that.
We're seeing... I have comments on Jem throughout this book specifically that I want to get into a little bit later. But we are getting this... we're seeing Jem become more desperate. in a way, and not
Mm-hmm.
desperate to like extend his life, but desperate to live his life.
Well, yeah, live
And
it.
he's very painfully aware now of what it means to survive versus what it means to thrive and to live. And he's very cognizant of that, and he wants very much to live his last moments, even if they are short.
Yeah.
Which is an argument that understandably is hard for Will to, comprehend.
Yeah. I was going to say, speaking of the relationship between Will and Jem, and much needed conversations, as I brought up earlier, they finally know that each other, well, I guess Will always knew, but Jem finally not always, but he knew for a while. Jem finally knows that Will is in love with Tessa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that whole conversation.
So there's a conversation I want to address before that, really quick.
Oh, yeah,
I
go
think
for
it makes an interesting, an interesting chronology. Mm-hmm. Where after the fire scene, when Will and Jem are discussing, I don't remember the exact text, but they comment on this reversal of roles later when they're discussing what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because they say that they were both thinking of Tessa, but that's such bullshit. I was like, excuse me? So my next note was, I believe Tessa. Jem was thinking about Tessa in that moment. Jem was thinking about Tessa. It's like, well, if I get rid of the thing, and say that I don't need it, then Tessa won't sacrifice herself. So I can almost buy that Jem was thinking about Tessa. But there's no way in hell that Will was not thinking of Jem in that moment. Will did not thrust his hands in the fire for Tessa.
No, agreed. Yeah.
Despite what he says. And my next note is, shh, Melanie, it's Heronstairs.
I can't see it from here. So I'm going to say, if I can't see it, it's not there.
And my next note is, they're in love, Your Honor.
No, they're not. Though, I did write, when they both talk about being blind to each other's feelings, I was like, it's like the secretly in love trope, but instead, they're just both in love with the same girl.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a long overdue conversation, and Jem is rightfully so, like, how did I not see it? Like, he was like, I had been saying that, oh, do you need me to pause, Allie, or are you just saying, like, you have a thought about that? I don't know what that means. Ginny, interpret.
Allie has a note and hasn't found it yet. And so...
Okay, I'll keep going.
Is trying to wait.
I'll keep going.
No, that's not what, yeah, Allie's looking for something to go before the conversation that we're trying to talk about.
Okay, then I'll stop. I'm sorry. I don't understand. I don't speak Allie like you do.
Okay, so there is a... Well, we can skip around a little bit. We can talk about this discussion. But that whole discussion... So, yeah, we're going to jump around a little bit because there's a lot of... We're at a point now where this Will, Jem, Tessa relationship is all very messy and very intertwined. So now we have this moment where... Jem says it's the first time that he realizes that Will is in love with Tessa. But that's bullshit. That is bullshit. Because in chapter 11 of Clockwork Angel, Jem says, basically, I noticed you noticing. Yeah. And there's that line where they're in the carriage where Jem says something flippantly about Tessa being pretty. And then Will's like, well, I haven't noticed. Because Will's being Will in fine form at that point. And... Jem is like, no, you have noticed, and I've noticed you noticing. So, like, bullshit.
I don't know. I feel like... I get what you're saying, but I don't know if I would go that far. It's more just, like, he finds her... Does it mean that he's in love with her? I don't know. Like, obviously he was, but does that mean Jem would automatically think, oh, he's been noticing Tessa, he must be in love with her? Like, does that mean that, really?
I mean, I guess not. So I have frustration with the way that Jem is... Yeah. The way that Jem is in this book gives me thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, so we have this weird shift in Jem's character. He's painted as this person who's earnest and observant through the first 2 books, but now we have a Jem who is blinded to the wants of those he cares for most, which seems very out of character for him. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it just... it feels strange and it feels unfair to him for him not to notice, especially because every conversation we have or that other characters have regarding the Tessa Jem Will situation is always, oh, Will's so in love with Tessa. That's unfortunate because she's engaged to Jem. Literally no one has commented on Tessa's love for Jem. Literally no one.
Mm-mm.
And so it feels
Yeah,
weird.
that's true. That's
Which, like, sometimes you're blind to the things that are right in front of you, but it feels weird for so many NPCs, even, like, fucking Woolsey Scott, who is around for, like, 3 scenes. He's like, oh, they're in love.
Everybody sees it, though. That's the thing. Everybody can see that, like, Tessa's not... She can pretend it all she wants, that she's in love with Jem, but everybody can kind of see that, no, she's really not.
Exactly. That's the point.
yeah.
That's the point.
That's what, that's what I was saying. And nobody has said that to Tessa or like
exactly.
Or, like, yeah. No one's been like, oh, really? Like, I mean, when the announcements are made, they're all like, congratulations.
Really?
But,
they're all like everyone's
no...
like, I would have bet money on it being Will that she was engaged to.
I texted Ginny after this moment that it was like me telling the Discord that I had a boyfriend, and they were all like, are you sure? with the underlying context being that I'm very gay.
Yeah, that was a time and a half.
So it's a thing everyone's like, oh, yeah?
You also...
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
When was this conversation that you texted me about? Oh,
I didn't text you. I texted Ginny about it.
Well, you sent me the picture.
What picture?
Something about Magnus.
Oh. Yeah, I think that was a different conversation.
Okay.
I don't remember what it was either, but it wasn't.
I'm looking at it, but it's probably a different conversation, and you sent it to me.
Okay,
and
I remember now. It was totally different conversation.
Okay, never mind. Then we don't need to talk about it. I don't know.
Not relevant to the current one. But so I found that moment too, where we're talking about like how Jem is like, how did I not notice? And it's just like it feels cheap. So he says on 242 he says, Jem shook his head, but how could I not have noticed? I told you I saw that the walls about your heart were coming down. I thought I knew why. I told you I always knew you carried a burden, and I knew you had gone to see Magnus. I had thought that perhaps you had made some use of his magic to free yourself from imaginary guilt. If I had ever known it was because of Tessa, you must know, Will, I would never have made my feelings known to her. And that, yeah, I'm like, when did Jem find out about Magnus? Like, when? Like, and yeah, I feel like that definitely doesn't. I remember that character scene too, where he's like, "Oh, I know what you're noticing," or whatever, and then
that's what I was gonna say when I was talking earlier. And then like, the other side of this is that what Jem says, he would have like not got engaged to Tessa, not made his feelings known. That's exactly what Will said would happen, and that's like not what Will wanted.
So it's interesting because they've got themselves in this situation where, honestly, if they've painted themselves in the situation where if one of them can't have Tessa, none of them can have. If they both want Tessa and only one of them can have her, then no one will. Which arguably is not great for anybody involved. It is
no. It is, yeah.
How about let Tessa make her decision?
Let
Tessa make a decision with no pressure from either guy, no pressure of Jem dying, nothing. Exactly. And guess who she would choose? Mr. William.
We know, yeah.
Or Gwilliam, if you will.
Right. But we can't have that because this is YA and tropes and the drama.
And it's Cassie Clare. Which we love, but...
Oh, of course.
Oh, we absolutely.
We love it. Again, that's why we're here. We eat it up, but...
We forgot the disclaimer at the beginning, but just because we're critical of something does not mean that we don't love it. We unironically love these characters. We unironically love this world. Obviously, we're here. We made a whole last podcast about it. Literally, the first conversation I had with both Ginny and Melanie was the Shadowhunter universe.
Literally, going back through my Discord messages with Allie, our first conversation was about the new spines of these books.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And then the first time I met Ginny was discussing a Shadowhunters story. So yeah, there's unironic love for this world and this thing, but there are things to be critical of because it, everything is fallible.
And writers improve over time, so.
Yeah, writers improve over time. I mean,
absolutely.
There's this phenomenon that happens as a writer and as any sort of creator where there's the story that you think that you're telling and then there's the story that you're actually telling.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that sometimes we get caught up in that because there's a story that you want to tell and that you think that you're telling, but then the way that it comes across to your audience is different. And that's like why we get frustrated with like TV endings, you know? Or like, yeah, because we were expecting like a different story to resolve than the one that did. And yeah. So definitely like, the conclusion of this book is one of those issues where it's like, I love these characters, I love this world so much, but there's
we
so
have been
much...
talking about getting to the conclusion of this for a long time, and
we all know what's coming, and and we're starting to see it here. You know, it's starting. The end is beginning. You know,
the end is near.
The end is near, and we can all feel it. And I distinctly remember when we were going to start Clockwork Princess. I think I mentioned at the end recently to you all. I was just like, I feel like this is where, you know, I was giving Tessa so much grace for the first 2 books, and then the third one is where it falls apart.
You both have said that a lot.
I think, and we're not quite there because there actually has been not too much Tessa, I feel like, so far.
There actually hasn't.
In this beginning.
She's now currently in the
she's
plot.
now conveniently kidnapped.
She's been kidnapped, so she's gone.
Yes.
She's missing.
I think next week I'm going to have, or next 2 weeks from now, I'm going to have a lot to say about Tessa.
I think there's going to be a lot to say about Tessa soon, but right now she is conveniently kidnapped as the YA heroine is.
Yeah. And Jem is like, you have to go after her. You have to, as my parabatai, this is what you have to do. This is what I'm asking you to do.
And we're like,
you have to go after her.
Do it anyway, but
right.
I had
and Will
already made that decision.
The funny thing is, Will was about to do it, and then Jem woke up. And then suddenly he's like, well, now I can't go.
Like,
You're awake.
I wasn't going to go. Or, I can't do that, obviously.
And Jem's like, bullshit, yes, you were. Just go. Yeah. It's fine.
Like, Will said like his goodbyes to Jem, too.
Will said his final farewells. He said his last words.
And then, after he like does actually leave to go find Tessa, he's like, he couldn't bear to say the words goodbye. It was like, you just did. Like, and I get it. It could probably be different saying it to someone like,
comatose.
I don't know if face-to-face is the right word, but like, when you're actually having a conversation and not just like talking to somebody one-sided. But still, you just said it, Will.
It's different than talking to an unconscious person in general.
So, agreed, I'm sure. But, you know, I'm like, Will, you just said it. You just said goodbye.
But also the sheer dramatics of Will going through his last words to Jem, and then Jem being like, so what's this about you liking Tessa?
Yeah. Which
I was like,
he summoned Magnus.
Like,
Will's like, I just summoned Magnus Bane to talk. And I'm like, cool. Magnus is a therapist now.
So my frustration with what is...
Yeah.
So, sorry, I'm making a lot of Allie distress noises.
Yeah, she is.
So lots of Allie distress noises and the thoughts haven't come together.
So. I'm waiting. It's okay. Take your time.
I'm swirling, and and every time like I have the thought, I just get more frustrated than another cue Allie distress noise. So as we think,
this is gonna be a long podcast, guys.
This is going to be such a long podcast. I am so sorry, but we're watching Jem's character fundamentally change. And I'm frustrated by that. You know?
You mentioned that already.
I did, but now I have more things to talk about. Because, like I said, we talked about this person who is so caring, and like how Sophie characterizes him as like somebody who's always kind, who's always nurturing. And then in this book, he cares about one thing. Just the one. And he only cares about Tessa. Everything he does is just, like, about Tessa. And I feel like we've lost, like, so much of his inherent depth for this, you know, one thing. And it's this one thing that, you know, arguably he can't have. He can't have her in the way that he wants to have her because her heart is split. And unfortunately, the way that we are interpreting this is that her heart is split unevenly, and it's more towards Will in this situation. There's this moment where Tessa and Will are discussing their talking about their love for each other. And I had this note where I'm like, I love the way that artists love, because Jem has this moment where he's pouring out his love to Tessa through song, and like that's very sweet. And then she's thinking about Will again.
As she does.
And as she does, exactly. But when she has these moments with Will, she's never thinking about Jem. It's imbalanced. And also we're in the situation where Will and Tessa have all the cards. Will and Tessa are the only two people who know exactly what is going on, barring the fact that everybody else can see that Will and Tessa are clearly in love and that Jem is just kind of there. Barring that, they're leaving Jem intentionally in the dark where he does not have all of the context to make the appropriate decisions for him. Mm-hmm. And I think that is fundamentally unfair. So,
yeah.
Justice for Jem Carstairs.
Yeah. It's like, I was like, man, Jem is so romantic, and like, you know, like, I mean, come on, what is there anything more romantic than someone writing a song for you? Like, come on,
Mm-hmm.
it's about peak romance here. And then
I mean, Will writes
Tessa
poems
just,
and waxes poetic in a way that is also
well, yeah, artsy things, but you know, anyways, so it's up there. And then
listen,
like Tessa just gets caught up in it and just goes like, yeah, sure, marriage, and then yeah.
Where did I write this down? I wrote this down somewhere.
And then they almost bang.
And then,
but then Jem says, "We're not going to bang in front of the cat." So,
yeah, like my thing is, I feel like Tessa gets caught up in these moments, but isn't thinking about the whole picture.
She gets caught up in the moment, and then the minute that she steps away to think about it, Will enters her brain again.
Yeah.
This is not necessarily related to Will and Jem and Tessa and the love. I just said I'm just like a sucker for the I wrote a song about you or for you trope, and like I swoon every time over it.
Same. That's what I was saying. Like literally, yes. Jem is like, I wrote this song for you, and it makes her cry and all this stuff, and then then she's like, okay, let's get married, and then Will, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. And Jem,
and
we're seeing a Jem who is almost manic, in a way. Like, again, he's got this tunnel vision where it's like Tessa is the only thing that he is worrying about consistently. He throws the Yin Fen into the fire because he's thinking about Tessa and he doesn't want to sacrifice Tessa. He writes a song for Tessa because he's thinking of Tessa. He goes into the engagement because he wants to be married to Tessa before he inevitably dies. And, yeah, and then when he makes his announcement the next day, he doesn't even, wait for everybody to be there at breakfast. Will and Cecily are still absent. His blood brother is not at the table, and he's like, so Tessa and I are getting married tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we need to move on from Will and Jem and Tessa, because if we don't, we're going to be talking about them the entire time.
I mean, they're important.
They are.
Important. Yeah. There's a lot going on.
But we have other important things that have happened.
Are there other important things that have happened?
You want to talk about people being manic? Because I will talk about my girl Jessie.
Well, she's dead, so...
Yeah, I also have problems with that too.
I do have problems with that.
Yeah.
This is the chapter I have been dreading. I have known it was coming since we started the books, started the reread and the podcast, and I've been dreading this because, as those who've been listening and those who've been watching know, I love Jessamine. She's something about her. I love her as a character, and she's coming back, and they're there to greet her. And then chaos, and it's an ambush, and I just literally, I said, no, Jessie's back, I'm not ready.
And I forgot a little bit of, I knew that she died, but I didn't remember this was it.
And yeah. She shows up just to die.
She literally, she just shows up to die, and I'm like, that,
I have many thoughts on this. And I will go
pop off.
And here we go. So she's found inside the carriage with her head shaved, almost like Allie's new look.
Except for I chose this. I feel like Jessie didn't.
She absolutely did not. It's Jessamine Lovelace. Are you kidding me? She would not have chosen this at all. And I said it was almost like she was in an old insane asylum where mental health was treated with holes drilling holes in the head kind of thing. Or I don't know if that's real or just a trope from literature kind of thing. But that's what it felt like.
Mm-hmm.
And even with just her, begging Henry to help her, I hear the desperation in her voice. And it's something that we haven't really heard from Jessie. She's always been, we heard it a little bit from her when she was in the Silent City and Jem and Tessa came to visit her. But, this is Jessie now. She's completely different because of her time in the Silent City.
She's absolutely traumatized. 110%. And I do like that moment, that glimpse of Henry caring for Jessie like his daughter, because we know that Charlotte and Henry have that love for their
But to see it
for
and
their
not just
adopted
hear
children.
about it.
But to see it was really strong, especially since, Jesse betrayed them, and Henry was arguably hurt the most by that. And I'm pretty sure Charlotte has a moment where she's like, I don't want to tell Henry because he would be crushed. When
Maybe, I don't know.
And then he's just like, Jesse, our Jesse? And Charlotte's like, yes, we've got to move on, But he's like, what? Yeah, he's really sad.
And this whole scene, and I said this to the both of you before we started, I'm going to make it a Mount Musical Theater. If anyone here knows Les Miserables, there is a song/scene called A Little Fall of Rain, which is when Eponine dies in Marius's arms. And this whole scene of Jesse dying in Will's arms gives a little fall of rain.
Okay, but you know who's actually Eponine in the story? It's Jem. Jem is Eponine, pining for Marius, who is Tessa, who is hopefully in love with, oh my gosh, what's her name? God.
Cosette,
yeah. Cosette. Who is...
Okay, but this scene, in this particular instance...
this scene, but it...
Damn it, Ellie, I let you run off about Will and Jem and Tessa. Let me do... Please.
I will, but I just want to point out that the allegory is there. And I will leave it there. However...
I understand that, and you're correct. But in this instance, Jessamine is Eponine, and Will is Marius.
In this one
scene. In this particular instance. Let me have this.
In this scene. But in the greater narrative. But in this
scene.
Oh
my god.
Continue.
If you don't shut up, I'm gonna...
Good luck smacking me across the internet.
When we start up our joint game of Baldur's Gate again, I'm gonna attack you. Friendly fire.
Do it.
That'll be my version of smacking you.
Sure.
You'll deserve it.
Anyway, carry on.
And she's just like, and Willow's like, I gotta get you inside the Institute. I've got to get Arazi's on you. Let me help you. And Jessie has come to terms with her fate. She says, I won't survive that long. Will, if you ever cared about me at all, even a bit, just put me down. And it's heartbreaking because this is Jessamine Lovelace. She is, whether she wants to believe it or not, and she probably will at this point, she is family to Will. Mm-hmm. They grew up together. And now for her to be dying in his arms and he can't do anything about it, it's almost like what he fears will happen with Jem. And the talon piercing Jesse's heart sort of feels poetic, and I don't know if that's the right word, but you'll know what I mean when I say it's like, finally Jesse's ice-cold exterior is gone because something that, in this case, has killed her has pierced her heart and, gotten through to her. And it's just really, it's sad, and it's almost beautiful at the same time because it's Jesse, like Will, bringing her walls down, but because she's dying. Though she does take a moment to just chastise Will for being a terrible Welshman. And I feel that's still, it's like the last glimpse of the Jesse that we know, that at least I know and love. Mm-hmm. I won't say we, but I know and love.
No, and Will, Jesse's character.
And she's like, don't let anyone, touch my dolls. And Will's like, I'm not going to let anyone do that. I will protect it. And then he says what the Shadowhunter, a respect of death, or whatever, I don't know what to call it, but Atake, I'm not pronouncing this well. You know what I mean. It's the hail and farewell, Jessamine Lovelace. Mm-hmm. And she's gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then everybody forgets about that and moves on.
Yeah, it might have been because
nobody addresses that. It's fine.
I'm about to out myself.
I will say,
here.
I feel like this is a recurring theme through a lot of the books. I feel like we have major character death, and I feel like they're not always handled in a way that feels cathartic.
Respectful.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's not always it happens, and then there's not. Mm-hmm. I always want more on scene, on camera, so to speak.
And this was in relation to something from our last chapters that we read, but I feel like it could be brought back up here. Is that we didn't get to see a conversation between Will and Cecily when he came to the Institute and was like, I want to be a Shadowhunter. We didn't get to see that conversation. We didn't get to see him telling her about the curse and all that. Why didn't we see that?
I didn't even notice that. You're right.
Yeah, you're right. We didn't see it.
And I feel like that's such an important conversation for Cicely to understand why Will left. And we just sort of hear, oh, well, when she was told about the curse, it's like, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, it's interesting the things that, get to be on screen and then don't get to, like,
Which, like, unfortunately, not everything can be on screen, because that's how you have,
No, of
like,
course.
1,000-page books. Which, like, obviously does happen at some point, but...
And I was just going
I
to
know
quickly say...
why-
Oh, but go ahead, Jenny.
As I say, and I mean, I understand in a way why, you know, authors don't want to bog down everybody in mourning, like, because it's not exciting. But at the same time,
if
sometimes
it's a
it makes
character,
the character that feels cheap.
It feels rushed.
Yeah,
sometimes.
like if it's a character that
cheap
we
to serve
have
sometimes.
been growing attached to, even if they're not the main focus character, I want to, I want to mourn with the characters.
And, like, even Thomas. When was the last time we heard about Thomas?
Maybe in relation to how Cyril looks like Thomas. That's about
exactly.
it.
Yeah, we've heard a lot about, like, Cyril, but yeah. I don't like how it literally Jessie just is brought back, and then, like, to die specifically. That's her purpose, to come back in the scene and then die. Like,
which, as a writer, sometimes the character's purpose is to die to like demonstrate, but it feels cheap in this instance.
Yeah. If the purpose was for her to die so that everyone could be devastated,
then have everybody be devastated.
Yeah, right.
But they're all too distracted by Tessa being kidnapped, which is fair. But then why did Jessie have to come back to die in this? Like, I understand the ambush. That I understand. But did she have to die in this moment?
I agree. I don't know. I don't. Yeah.
And
I
it may be
remember
because
after being like, don't like this. Yeah, done.
Yeah. And like I said, I've been dreading this chapter. I've been dreading this chapter. I've been dreading this moment. But I'm gonna out myself a little bit here. I feel like I remember this affecting me way more when I read it for the first time. Maybe because I read it for the first time, but then I did when I was rereading it now. But it may also just be because I was falling asleep while I was reading it last night because I was tired when I got home from Comic-Con.
So the other thing is, Jessie's death is immediately overshadowed by the fact that she dies in Will's arms, and then Jem shows up at the gates of the institute, and he's like, I couldn't find her.
And Will, at this point, when he's with Jessamine, he doesn't know that Tessa's been taken.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I just think that Jessie deserves a little bit more of a send-off that is reflected on and acknowledged instead of just like everyone's like, oh, Jessie's dead, but like Tessa's kidnapped too, and that's the priority now.
But I also agree with Ginny's point. This seems like a wider genre problem, where a lot of times in like these younger YA books we don't get proper mourning and we don't get proper grief, and I feel like that's a disservice to their audience, who, as a YA audience, like a lot of times when you're in that age, like you experience your first, loss. That's when your grandparents start to get older and pass, or, So I think it's a disservice that we don't see mourning and grief in these books, because I feel like this is an audience that particularly could use it.
We don't see it yet, but we will.
And tangentially related, there was a different book by another author who I love. Cindy Williams-Shima wrote a book called The Dragon Heir, and in it, one of the characters dies. And I was so mad about it that I wrote that I had to make a poetry portfolio in high school. And I wrote a poem about this character's death and how he deserved better. And then my teacher kept the portfolio as an example for other students. So somewhere in that teacher's classroom exists a poem about this fictional character's death that I was so moved by and so frustrated by. I was like, let them mourn.
Sort of going back to my point about not seeing that conversation between Cecily and Will, I want to talk about Cecily and Will and their relationship.
Sure. We do get a lot of that in these chapters.
We do. It's sort of open, like our chapters this week open with Cecily revealing that she didn't actually, when she came to the Institute, it wasn't because she actually was a Shadowhunter. It was just so she could bring her brother back home. And now, as we've been saying, we're starting to see that she actually does want to be a Shadowhunter, and it's something she wants. It's something that's now in her blood, like it's part of her. And that was also when Will came in and interrupted Gabriel and Cecily, and I'm like, Will, stop.
Well, let them be.
And they have this tense exchange, and it is literally, Cecily says, people change. Will says, not that much. And then Cecily just goes, you have. Which the next line after that is, Will says, you have too. But I was just like, get him, Cecily.
Get him. Cecily is a savage, man.
Cecily is savage. Cecily is very quick. Like, you know, for all of Will's sass and sharp wit, Cecily
matches
is
him.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And what I
the thing
love
is,
about
Will
her
is
is
flowery about it,
her wit,
but
yeah, right.
Cecily is just like,
Cecily
I'm
is
not
just cut
gonna
to the bone
sugarcoat this.
immediately.
yeah, Cecily's a fucking dagger.
And
just immediately.
Cecily has, you know, it's
Mhm.
been made a point that Cecily hasn't really understood the. She's like, how can this person who's not your brother be someone you care about, who seemingly more than your own actual sister?
She does have frustration about that, and you're right.
Yeah.
And then she sort of finally gets it after Will is like caring for Jem after he collapses, which is nice sort of character moment of Cecily sort of being like, I get it now, and I'm gonna stop being so angry about it. But they have sort of like this heart to heart when Will goes off to look for Tessa after sort of saying goodbye, but not saying goodbye to Jem. And she's like, I've only just found you again, and now you're leaving. You keep leaving me.
Which is frustrating.
Yeah. And I feel like there's, you know, and that can explain some of her frustration with, you know, why Will cares for Jem so much is that, you know, he essentially, you know, he left her and then went and found a private eye who, you know, has that
almost
very
she feels
strong relationship
replaced
with.
almost.
Yeah.
And Gabriel tries to reassure her that he does, you know, love her. Just because of a relationship with Jem doesn't mean he loves Cecily any less. And I do love the conversations that Gabe and Cecily have, but that's not what we're talking about right now. We're just talking about Will and Cecily and the fact that they, like we've been saying, the session of much needed conversations, they finally are like, talk it out. And he's like, I do, you know, you are my sister. I sort of distance myself in a way because I'm scared to lose you too. And I don't want, you know, I need to protect you because if I lost Ella and then I lost Jem and I lost you, like he would break. He would not be able to do it anymore.
Exactly. And you know, habits die hard, and he's built these walls around himself, which like obviously now he knows that everyone who loves him isn't going to die and that the curse wasn't real. But, you know, there's still that inherent fear. Like that doesn't go away overnight. And the life that he leads now is dangerous. And Cecily is arguably in more danger the closer to him that she is. So he's trying to kind of keep her at arm's length all this time.
Even when Gabriel pulls Will out of Jem's room or whatever it is when he's, you know, looking after Jem, he doesn't come out like Cecily expects. Cecily expects him to be angry and like yelling and whatever, but he's just sort of like there of like what is this, you know, he understands that it must be important, so he's just like, what's going on?
Right.
And Cecily doesn't expect that. And as Will promises when he comes home that, or when he gets, if he comes back to the Institute, which, you know, he will go back home with Cecily, and Cecily's like, I don't pretend to think that like I can keep you back in Wales, but at least go talk to our parents and tell them what happened and why you left. They deserve to know that. And he agrees. And then he gives her the demon hunting necklace.
He does. A necklace that is not important at all after this book.
But it's almost like I look of it almost as like a promise of like, I'll sort of like, I'll come back for this kind of thing.
I don't think Will intends
probably not
to come back. I think that he wants to come back, but I think I'm
that's
not sure
why
he
I
thinks
know
he will.
Because he's hesitant to say that like. That's why he says if all those conditions are met, that like I will do this. He's very hesitant to believe it. But I think I don't know if this is just me reading into it, but him giving the necklace is sort of like a sort of look into his mind of there's a little bit more hope there than he likes to portray.
Maybe. Or maybe he was insulted by somebody saying he was wearing a women's necklace. I forget who it was in that moment.
It was Cecily. She's like, you're giving me your lady's necklace?
Yeah. Exactly. She's the one who's pointing out like, that doesn't match what his getup is.
Because I had a note about this necklace earlier, like last week or 2 weeks ago, that resolves itself now. And so, yeah.
More fun family lines things.
What else is something we need to talk about?
I have one final note on the Tessa Will Jem situation.
Okay.
I promise this is my final note, just because and then I have some lighter things that would be fun to discuss and sort of, transition out of some of the darker things.
I missed one note on it too in mine, but so go ahead.
You can say it, Jenny, it's fine.
No, Allie has a thing, and then I'll.
So when I was rereading for writing my summary, I noticed a bit where Tessa is physically ill, thinking of Will in love with someone else.
Same note.
Same brain. One brain cell.
Almost like they live together.
Almost, but we try not to talk about the books before we come to podcasts. Yeah. We talk about like little things sometimes, but usually we try and save the discussion for here. Try to avoid that situation. But yeah, physically ill, thinking of Will in love with someone else, and I just can't imagine that she would feel the same if Jem loves someone else. Just throwing it out there to the void.
Yeah, no, agreed.
I agree. Yeah, we have that whole debate of like a divided heart and like kindness versus honor, and then physically sick at the idea. Yeah, I was like,
and I guess I also have one final thought. Actually. Will says, regarding Tessa after she's been taken, Tessa is gone, and every single moment she is gone is a knife ripping me apart from the inside. And I literally said, you cannot tell me that Jem loves Tessa. Will does.
Screaming, trying. It's fine.
Throwing up.
Yep.
I think one major note that we need to hit on before maybe move on to is that Mrs. Black is back. She's no longer dead.
Good for her.
But
she
also
just keeps coming back.
I don't know how. We don't know how
like
she's living because it's very disturbing. It's literally just her head, and then everything else is automaton.
Oh yeah, I was like, that's gross.
Hate that.
Yeah, this book is a lot.
Anyway,
I would also throw myself out of that carriage too. Not gonna lie.
I think this is our opportunity to move on to some happier.
So I have a note about Gideon and Sophie, who have like little interactions throughout these chapters. But Gideon could have ordered an obscene amount of literally anything to see Sophie, and he chose scones, which he doesn't even like. Boys are so stupid.
He's like, I'm sorry I made you make all those scones. And she's like, I'm not the one who made them, Bridget did.
Exactly. I didn't make them. I just had to bring them to your dumb ass.
Though I do love that Sophie, she was like, I forgave him a long time ago, but she's still giving him shit.
Yeah.
And she's also like she also decides that she's going to be in on the like scheme of trying to fool Council Wayland.
Yes, Sophie walks in on Gideon and Gabriel reading Charlotte's correspondence, and she's so ready to be outraged. And they're like, no, we're reading them so that way we don't accidentally tell the council anything. Like, I promise that's what we're doing.
But then Council Wayland manipulates Gabriel and his PTSD, and Gabriel is like, okay, how do you want me now? And I'm just like, no, Gabe,
please.
Gabriel,
something that I noticed was a parallel was I should have mentioned this when we were talking about Jem and Will, but I just sort of looked at my notes again. Will says, if there is a life after this one, let me meet you in at James Carstairs. And you're gonna listen. What I picked up on is Jace echoes something very similar when he's talking to Clary. He said, if there's a life after that, I'll love you then.
So you're saying it's Heronstairs?
No. Okay. What I'm saying is, no. What I'm saying
she walked right into it. I didn't even have to make the argument. She made it for us. There, I'd love your honor. The face.
You want me to leave? Because I will. I will absolutely leave right now.
We'll mess up the cameras. And then we'll say that.
That's what you're concerned about.
Yeah.
That's what you're concerned about. Not me, not being here. I see.
Welcome again to Young Adult.
I just thought it was a fun parallel of the Herondale Boy saying similar things in different contexts. Man. Will literally admits that he's dramatic, and I'm like, same. I relate.
He does.
Same.
Yeah.
Bridget's got more songs that Sophie and Will are like, and everyone's like, I want to strangle her for her songs.
I underlined Will's I am dramatic. That was like nice.
I was like, I relate. Literally, I wrote that down and I was like, I relate.
Dramatic, yeah. And then like 2 pages later, I also wrote that Tessa is like, oh, I am just like other girls.
I want to be like other girls from Mulan too. Climb up a tree like other girls can.
Woolsey
No,
bites
it's
on
like
occasion.
it's like when she's leaving the carriage or something, I think, something like that. Or that, it's not related because it's a new scene, but I was like, Will's dramatic and Tessa's just like other girls.
Look at us, character
They're
growth.
perfect for each
Good
other.
job, guys.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, so Magnus says that Woolsey bites on occasion, and I just want to say that that's kinky.
Little chomp.
Yeah, well.
Just a little bit.
I think it's interesting that, time and time again we keep seeing that the Seraph Blades are not fit to fight the automatons. The Seraph Blades are designed to kill demons and not mechanical creatures.
That makes sense.
It's an enemy that Shadowhunters have no idea how to face, and that's what makes it so scary for them.
Tis.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that happens that's like
enemy?
Magnus and Henry have some sweet partnership.
Oh yeah.
Friendship.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah,
that's
we get some good Magnus overall, I'd say, in this section.
We get some good Magnus with his pet Shadowhunters. I'm not going to get involved with nothing matters.
And then he's responsible for something very important to Shadowhunters.
Yep. He's working with Henry on the portal, which is important. Yeah. But Magnus also Magnus, especially after Henry being slighted earlier in the chapters about not getting any bacon, because I think it was Gabriel who ate it all, that bastard. But
I relate. I want bacon.
The audacity, motherfucker. But Magnus comes down to Henry's lab and is genuinely interested and genuinely admires Henry's creations and his work ethic and the things that he's created. He built this very specific bonnet that chokes somebody out if they're wearing it or something like that. I don't remember exactly what it does, but Magnus is like, wow, this is great, in a way that's unironic. And Henry doesn't get a lot of appreciation from his fellow Shadowhunters, and so it was good for him to have a moment where Magnus was like, I see you, and Henry was like, oh
yeah,
and I was like, oh,
as an inventor,
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Magnus is like, I'll help you.
Yeah, Magnus keeps getting involved in this business more.
Despite his claims that he does not want to get involved in Shadowhunter business.
I'm not involved, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then Will calls him over, and exactly.
He'll get real involved in some Shadowhunter business many years from now.
All up in Shadowhunter business.
Oh, yeah.
He'll quite literally be married to it.
Be all up in it. Be hitting it.
Someday he'll be able to tell the Lightwoods apart. It's fine.
Someday.
I mean, at that point, I should hope he's able to tell them apart because,
That would be awkward.
I don't know who that would be more awkward for.
But I actually love the Lightwoods, and I remember that I liked them, but this reread again, I'm like, man, I love those boys. They're so dumb, but they're so great.
They are great.
Yeah. I do remember being partial to Gabriel a little bit, actually, and I was like, man, Gabriel's such a little shit, but I love him.
Yes.
And then, but this time around, I was like, man, Gideon is so awkward.
He's
sort of, and I love him too.
Sort of speaking of the Lightwoods,
so sweet and so awkward, but I love him too.
Sort of speaking of the Lightwoods, last time I mentioned that Gabriel was the first Lightwood boy to use a bow and arrow as his weapon, but it won't be the last. And that happens again in this chapter. Not necessarily Lightwood, but somebody, Charlotte, uses the Electrum Whip as her weapon, and I'm just like, where have I seen that before too?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's fun for me.
Maybe we'll know in a year from now.
It's fun for me having read Mortal Instruments first, seeing callbacks to, or I guess depending on your reading order, foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Right. For me, it's callbacks.
Right. I had the same experience having read Clockwork Angel first, and then going to read City of Bones, and I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. So I just think it's fun, seeing little bits and pieces of all the characters, depending on in the books, no matter 100%. What time period they're in.
That's one of the things across series that's really strong, is the the connections, and you can see these traits that are passed down. And
when I was at the panel, Cassie said that she puts a little bit of herself into all of her characters. So
That's a very writer thing
I
to
think
do.
that as a writer, you have to be able to connect
Right. So I'm
with
thinking,
characters you care about, and
I think that also could probably be part of, and why we keep seeing bits and pieces of these characters everywhere, because everyone she loves all of these characters because they're all a part of her.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
That's all.
yeah. Well, and my there's this note here. It's kind of related where Magnus, when Magnus and Will are talking about, and Will asks like, how do you do it? How do you, being immortal? How do you watch people you love die and stuff like that? And then Magnus basically says, and I'm surprised that Melody didn't pick up the that like that life is measured in love basically, and I was like, seasons of love. I was like, there it
Well,
is.
listen, I was scrambling trying to finish the chapter right before we got hopped on here, so yeah.
That's why, yeah.
But if you want to, seasons of love.
Yeah, exactly.
Seasons of.
That's Magnus's words of wisdom is that, the little moments matter. And I would say that, like all these characters, there's the little, the little things matter too. And you love all your characters because there's a little piece of you in all of them.
Oh yeah.
So not a quite perfect relationship, but it made me think of that.
Yeah. Anyway, is anybody have anything else they want to bring up?
I think we had some really thorough discussions this week.
Yeah.
I think that
we ran a little long today, but that's because there was a lot to talk about.
Oh, there was so much. Yeah.
That's going to be a running theme with these Clockwork Princess podcasts.
Expect the podcast to probably.
Oh, you cut out in the last bit of that.
Oh, I just said the podcasts, expect them to probably be longer from here on.
Yeah, for at least these next two.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially the last one for this book.
Ugh. Yeah, we're already...
We've been teasing it for a while, but we're going to have a lot to say.
We are going to have a lot to say about the end. But yeah, so next time, I guess we're reading part 3 for us, so that'll be through chapter... I believe it's through chapter...
13 through...
18? 13 to 8, or...
It's 18 or 19.
Here.
18 or 19.
It's
we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. We're reading more chapters.
Yeah,
okay. We'll figure it out. Yeah, it's 13 through 18.
18,
okay. Great.
Yeah, I think this one's broken up into 6 chapters each. But anyway, we'll be here 2 weeks from now. That is the 28th? Yes, it is the 28th.
And maybe we'll do a special Halloween-themed episode?
Maybe.
That will be
we'll have to stay tuned
and find out.
Yeah.
Stay tuned and find out. Follow us on Instagram. If you want to see if that's going to be a Halloween theme, if you want to see when we're posting next, if you want to see all the beautifully aesthetic content that we've crafted for the month of October.
If you want to see me meeting Cassie Clare.
Yeah, follow us on Instagram. At Herondale SG Pod. Is it the Herondale SG Pod? Is it just
Herondale? It's probably Herondale Boy SG Pod.
Herondale Boy SG Pod. What is our Instagram? Hold, please.
Herondale Boy SG Pod. Yep.
Herondale Boy SG Pod. Follow us there on Instagram. Follow us on Twitch. This podcast is live if you're listening to it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. We stream to Twitch every other Saturday now at noon Eastern Standard Time. So if you're around, then come ask us questions in the chat, and we can address it in real time. You can do that. Also, if you are listening to this as a podcast, make sure you follow us there. Spotify and Apple Podcasts both allow you to add podcasts to your library. So you'll be notified, and it'll automatically be added to your list of things to listen to whenever a new podcast is dropped. So
I figured out the command for our Discord. If you want to join that.
Succeeded one command. We also have a Discord, so if you want to chat with us outside of these things, and that's a good place to just connect on the daily and say, hey, what's up? But so thanks for hanging out with us and talking about books.
We'll see you next time.
And we will see you next time with part 3 of Clockwork Princess.
Part 3, Clockwork Princess.
Whoa.
The end is near.
The end is nigh.
Bye.
Bye.